So, Barry, why would you decide to go to New York City and live like someone who's homeless on the streets?
Well, since working for World Next Door, since doing this, I kind of had the idea that, well, I'm going to go and try to get as deep into whatever culture it happens to be, whether it's a mountain village in Panama or the slums of Kenya or a refugee camp in Haiti. Like, the idea is I go in as deep as possible, and then find out what life is really like there, see what God is doing there, and then write about it in a way that people back home can understand. So when I thought that we should probably tackle the issue of homelessness, I thought, well, what better way to find out what life is really like than to actually go and try it out myself. So that's
And
why I did it.
Your family was excited about that.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Mom
sure.
was thrilled.
Your poor mom. I remember praying for her through
Yeah.
that whole time.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what was it really like when you finally got, and you were totally homeless, like
Yeah.
you didn't stay anywhere with
Right.
anybody?
All I knew going in was I did have a cell phone, an old cell phone, just in case of emergencies. I had a book to read and a dime. That was all I took with me. So, and a like a subway pass. And so I went into the city with the plan of staying 3 nights and 4 days in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. And so I went in, and first. The daytimes I mostly just hung out, and I mean, people probably could have mistaken me for a tourist or something, but at night, the first night I slept in Penn Station, which is a big train station downtown, slept in a little corner on the floor, and then the second and third night I actually checked myself into a homeless shelter to see what that was like as a homeless person.
Was it cold at that time of year?
It was getting a little chilly, so you wanted to be inside,
Yeah.
Or walking outside. So.
And were there lots of people there? Packed into Penn
It wasn't
Station?
Penn Station. It wasn't cold enough for there to be a ton of people. But when I went in, there weren't very many, and I was freaked out because I thought, is this not even the right place? They told me this would be a good place to look, but when I got up in the morning, there were people all over the place, all along the walls, and I mean, just it's amazing. And the thing that was really interesting about that experience about Penn Station was how many people had, obvious mental issues or physical problems, and it was. I don't know, it was really intense because there were so many people with such deep issues, and you could see there were lots of people who were kind of addicted to drugs, and it was kind of like I realized this was the place where people go who don't have the ability or the interest or the will to go to an actual shelter. That's the kind of place that those people will go.
Wow. So there's almost like different levels of people that are homeless. There's the
absolutely.
ones that
Yeah.
can't even get into a shelter.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and that was kind of the bottom of the barrel, so to speak.
Wow. So you lived on the streets. How did you eat? How did you take care of yourself? And out of all of that, what was the biggest impact? What did you leave with?
Yeah. A couple meals I would go to, I'd look around and find a place, like I went to some food soup kitchen type place and stood in line and had some kind of gross food, but whatever, I ate it. And then it was food. I was really happy. And then when I checked into the homeless shelter, they also gave everyone a dinner. So I ate there for dinner. And then, but the first day I wasn't doing that. I was sleeping in Penn Station. I didn't have anywhere to go for food, so I had to panhandle, which consequently was by far the most emotional experience for me of the whole trip. I essentially stood in a stairwell going down to the subway and just sat on the ground, held out my hands, and started asking people for money. I could tell you right off the bat, I mean, within minutes, I already was feeling awful about it. For one thing, people were treating me like they weren't looking at me, and they just wouldn't make eye contact. I knew they saw me because it was a tiny little hallway. They had to walk right over me, but they didn't want to make eye contact. They didn't. Occasionally, some people would look down at me just because they were like, oh, what's that person sitting on the ground? And then when they saw me look back up at them, they just immediately looked away and walked away like they hadn't seen me. And with so many people ignoring me when I was talking directly to them, excuse me, sir, can you do you have $1 I can borrow? And just having them not even look at me, it was so dehumanizing, and it really, I don't know, it just messed with me. Pretty soon after just half an hour of doing this, I wanted to stand up and say, look at me, I'm a person. So that was really emotional for me to have that experience. But the other thing that was really, really, really emotional were the people that did give me money. There were the times when people would, they'd reach in their pockets. They're like, I don't have much. Here's $1. Or the one guy that gave me a $5 bill, like after 45 minutes or an hour of getting nothing but maybe a couple quarters, $1 here, getting a $5 bill, it was
Like hitting the jackpot.
Oh, it was amazing. I went up. That was enough money. I made enough money to go up and get a hot dog on the street or something like that. And I sat there and just like tears coming down my face as I ate a hot dog in New York City, because it was one that was provided to me out of the goodness of someone else's heart, and it shook me. But you know what was really interesting was the people who didn't give me money but did make eye contact with me. I almost was happier that they would do that than I was that people would actually give me money. The fact that they would reach in their pocket and say, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but look me in the eye, I was like, you know what? I wanted to be like, you know what? You're fine. Don't even worry about it. Thank you for giving me humanity for a moment.
Yeah, acknowledging that I'm actually a human being.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, after that experience, I will never, ever, ever look at a homeless person or a panhandler the same way again. It changed everything I thought about that whole situation.
Wow. That's a lot to think about, especially as we're looking at James and talking about poverty and caring for one another. Thanks a lot, Barry, for sharing that story with us.
Of course, thank you.